really got to try on that left-hand side. What happened?
Oh, but I've gone up and over and bloody head over biscuit. It wasn't enough stability there for myself, but no, I was busting for a bit of meat this game. It didn't seem to work out.
Hello, cheers, and welcome. Welcome to the Scrum of the Earth podcast, the weekly show that brings you news, reviews, great interviews, and so much more, all about the world of rugby. As always, I'm your host, David Lawrence. I'm an American rugby fan who follows the game wherever I can find it all over the globe. If you'd like to get in touch, the best thing to do is reach out on Blue Sky. I'm checking it more and more these days, and I always love to hear from you. I'm on other usual socials as well, and you can always drop an email to thescrumoftheearth@gmail.com. Well, as you've no doubt deduced, this is not your regular weekly episode, but is in fact another bonus episode today. I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome back one of my dear friends, Craig Manson from the Scottish Rugby Podcast. Craig, my dear friend, how the heck are you doing?
Hey David, how you doing? Hello everyone. Yeah, I'm doing okay. It's been a difficult Christmas, as you know, David, and we got through it all, and it's been not bad. So we're on the other side and in 2025 and ready for a good year. So, yeah, doing great, mate.
Well, that's at the top of my script here. Before we do anything, I just wanted to check in. How is your dad doing?
My dad's doing great. It's actually quite surprising. He's back. He's not his old self, but he's getting there. Had a pacemaker fitted over Christmas after having a heart valve replaced, and they talk about all the things that he's gone through and all the different things that's happened to him over the last couple of weeks. And he's 78. He's 86. My goodness.
Wow.
So 86, and he's had a valve replaced, had a pacemaker fitted, and God help him, he what's the word? We lost him 5 times and he came back 5 times. So
Wow.
Let's just say we're glad to have him back, glad to have him with Christmas, have him over Christmas, and he's on the mend, which is great. So, feeling very thankful, my friend, feeling very thankful for my family and my friends,
That's amazing. You sent me a picture of him back at home, and it was just, even over here, it was just super gratifying to see, and the sight of that must fill your heart.
Yeah, it really does. And our medical system over here in the UK is is really creaking under a fair bit of weight just now, but I can't say anything more other than just sheer amazement and pride and thankfulness for all the nurses and the doctors and in the Scottish medical system. They really did us proud.
When my son was born, we didn't have any doctors in the room, and I feel like it was the best move we ever made. There was 2 nurses, a midwife, and a doula, and you know what? That was great.
Yeah, well, I've got 2 midwives in the family, so my sister and my niece. So, unfortunately, funnily enough, both my children, their midwife was my sister, mainly because she, not for any other reason, but because first time with Logan, she had broken her foot because a horse had stood on her foot because they had horses. So she was off, and so she could cut. My wife had her as a second birthing partner, so she came in and she helped us with Logan coming along. And then the second time, my daughter was born at home, and it wasn't like a oops, too late sort of thing. It was actually planned that way.
Hold on, I'm finishing this up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, my sister said, "Well, Cordelia, my wife went through childbirth so well with Logan that she said, look, you'll be fine, and I'll come round and I'll be with you." And Darcy arrived at home. So it's I both my sister Lynn and my niece Louise are both midwives, and
Wow.
very proud of them both. So
No doubt.
So yeah,
during the process, it of course gets pretty grisly, and it's like a forensic scene in there. And at one point, I just trying to lighten the mood, as I often try to do, I said to one of them, by the way, why on earth would you get this job? and they both kind of laughed, and they said, you'll see. And then he came out, and we burst into tears and everything, and she said, hey, this is why.
This is why.
So.
Well, that's the funny thing. Just a quick wee story. I know that we push on for time, but just if anyone's watching, and in the introduction sign there's a little picture of me, and that's with my big galoot of a son who's 19 going on 20 this year, Logan. Now Logan now is 6'3", and a big lad, and he came along and my sister was as an obstetrics midwife. So if you see my sister, you don't really want to see my sister because it means there's a few problems happening.
Oh, okay.
So she comes in and she sorts these sort of things out. So any emergencies or anything like that. Well, she's there, and we had this plan that when Logan arrives, I'm going to cut the cord and all this, that, and the other. Well, he arrived, and my sister quickly bundled him up, cut the cord, got him all tidied up, got him whisked away to get weighed and measured. Everything. She came back in, and I went, and she says, "What are you giving me that look for?" I said, "I was wanting to cut the cord. I thought I was cutting the cord." She says, "I'm really sorry." She says, "This is what happens when we have babies born in my section. They are whisked away immediately."
Yes.
Something I did not. I was just doing my normal job. She says, "I'm so sorry." I said, "It's okay. We'll wait on the second one." When Darcy came along, she did exactly the same thing.
Well, let's all just take it as she's really good at her job. How about that?
That's the thing. You know what it's with family. You have your family and you see them at their job and you realise actually they are very professional. And it's amazing how, because I think they're doofuses all the time when they're in the family.
You can be a different doofus at work.
Very true. Very true.
Well, my friend, it's a holiday here honoring the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, or I guess just his legacy. Is it his birthday? Jeez, I feel like an idiot now. I just kind of just stumbled over my own script. So how are you people doing with that? Do you all have civil rights there in Scotland?
Oh, we have civil rights, and we're don't get me wrong. We have been on the wrong side of slavery quite a bit ourselves, so I'm not going to. That's the last I'll talk about it. We don't get so much of the holidays on that side of things. We just we celebrate other things at times, but you guys seem to get some good holidays and deservedly celebrated holidays as well. So, no, we're just our normal systems, just getting on with life now.
Well, ironically, today might be the day that we give up all those rights forever. So it's been nice knowing you, if nothing else.
Well, the funny thing is, the last time we talked politics, you told me not to talk about him ever again, and it was on it. I thought, I'm not going to say a word. I'm keeping out of it. I'm going to stay away.
That. Well, Craig, of course, I've asked you here today because, to paraphrase Bobby Darin, I need a dream scrummer so I don't have to scrum alone.
If you said you were going, I wouldn't have come on here if you said you were going to be singing, mate.
I apologize. I know. That should be there's a special category of YouTube videos where it gets sorted out that you'd never accidentally click on it. I do actually want to start with that, though. As someone who knows and loves the Scrum, what's your take on this? By the way, are you impressed? I found clip art featuring Scrum. I can't even believe it was there. Guy with a tie and everything. Are you enjoying what you're seeing these days? Like, if I was to catch you down the pub 3 or 4 beers in, would I be in for an evening of hearing about how it was better in your day, how they don't know, they're all doing it wrong now, or would you tell me we're in pretty good shape?
I think it's yes and no. I think there's still noises about getting rid of scrums, etc. But we don't want to become rugby league, and I think we do need the scrummage there. It is part of the game, and it's just a way of restarting the game. But it's also become so technical. It's something that I enjoy immensely. And what I love nowadays is that if you're watching rugby, a lot of the, especially for example the English Premiership that I watch regularly, the internationals obviously, but also the French top 14. The film crews now, the technology of actually filming the scrummage has become so maybe intrusive or maybe, but it's so good that you can actually watch so closely. You're really being able to watch the battle between the two scrums from up above as well as side on, and also the level of pundit that they now have on a lot of these shows. They'll sit and talk. There's a gentleman called David Flatman.
I was just going to say, Flats, I think you and I are both fans of his comms.
Oh, very much so, because not only is he funny and he's he's a very, very good speaker, but he enthuses you about scrummaging and tells you about the battle and so I like it just now. There's a few things been changing, not so much with scrummaging, just that there's a couple of little things with scrummaging, but there's big things going on with the line out as well, which seems to be a positive side of things as well. So yeah, we're in a good. I think we're in a good state. It's less. What I would say it's a hell of a lot. It's a hell of a lot less dangerous nowadays, and that's a big thing.
It is funny if you go back and look at any footage from the 90s when they just kind of start from a stand and just crash. And it's like, is anyone going to survive this, do we think? Or
yeah, well, that's when you say you see these old guys like me saying, "Oh, it's not in my day." Well, I remember my day, and I would rather be scrummaging just now. Thank you very much.
You know, this last season was the first time I ever actually watched the Curry Cup, and my son comes in while I was watching a game, and one of the teams, I think it was the Lions, but anyway, one of the teams, as a team, they clearly had decided on the scrum, they go crouch, bind, and on set they would all go boom, and they would just yell boom at the same time, and it was really funny. And my son just thought it was a riot, and so now every time he sees a scrum, when they're just about to start, he goes boom. I'm here for it.
I really am. Yeah, there's also a setup. If you ever watch Sail, the Sail Sharks, they all settle in, and usually if you're in the front row, you'd call for the seconds to bind in because, and then you're getting ready to go into the scrum. But what they do is they all start to bind in, and then they just shout "Sail," and then everyone goes yes, and they all kind of. Oh. They're all bringing their. It's this. If you ever get a chance to listen to Alex Sanderson, their coach, speak, he's very into the mind and the way of positive thinking and manifesting, etc. And this is what they seem to be.
Is he the same guy who invented the mind gym, the gym for the mind?
He is the mind gym and the gym for the mind. He is the man. So yeah,
that is very cool though. I like the sort of vocalizations, and even, I mean, it's been a while now. It's been years now, but even the fact that they get together collectively after something happens and they all take a breath and inhale and exhale together. It's a very yogic thing, and you don't really see it in American sports typically. I always get a kick out of that. Yeah.
Well, scrummaging nowadays has become such a power game, and if you think you're talking about something like between 1.5 and 2 tons bearing down on each side. You have to be in a situation now, and people are so fit and so strong nowadays that there's a lot that could go wrong. It's a fierce thing. I love it.
Well, you mentioned the Premiership and the top 14. Is there a team outside of your own that you particularly like watching the scrummage? Like, I feel like La Rochelle, because I love Winnie Antonio so much, anytime he's hunkering down in the scrum, I love it. Is there a team that you particularly love to watch how they operate?
Yeah, I'm enjoying Bath just now. I think Bath have got, I think it's Dunn.
I call him the Dungeon Master because he just looks like he definitely plays D&D.
Yeah, he's constantly bleeding as well because he's just continually bleeding. They've got Dunn at hook, they've got Will Stewart, they've got Detroit on the tight head, who is slowly becoming one of the better. Well, he is one of the top 5 tight heads, but can also play loose head. There's also Ben Obano as well, who unfortunately had an unlucky weekend this weekend, but he's fabulous. But there was one. Now it was about a couple of months ago, just before Christmas, and I'm sure it's a Poco Fajor, who's a 20-year-old or 21-year-old young prop who came up against Ellis Genge. And they were having words on a regular basis in the scrum, and it was great because Ellis Genge would get one over on him, and then you would have him getting one over on El, and eventually at the end, I think it was a Poco Fajor had won the most of the scrum penalties against Ellis Genge, and you just saw that battle coming out. And it was really interesting to watch, and those sort of things just all just really gets me. And then I watch a little bit of Toulouse quite a lot because
How can you not?
Well, how can you not watch Toulouse? So quite interesting.
So, actually, I did notice Edinburgh, your team, they're doing really well in the Scrum this year. I see they're ranked first in the URC. They're first in Scrum penalties won, and your current success rate is at 94%. You got to be pretty happy with that, right?
Yeah, I am, and the reason I am is mainly because there's a couple of people that I didn't think would have done that one. I felt they weren't going to do a good job. And actually, they've come through. And for example, Darcy Ray, I'm not a massive fan of Darcy Ray, or I wasn't. And I thought he has really come on strong. He's got himself another 2 years at Edinburgh, so he's been had his contract renewed, and he's been doing a great job. Also, there's obviously the love of my life, Pierre Schumann, who is there, and I would expect him to go on the British and Irish Lions tour this year coming. And then there's also Bowen Venter, who I can't describe this guy. You just think, well, he's there to scrummage, but actually when you see him in the loose with a ball, you wouldn't want him running at you when he's 5 meters out from the line. So yeah, we do okay.
So, speaking of Edinburgh, I do want to do a quick little start with the URC and do a little check-in. Edinburgh, they're now 8th on the table, narrowly edging out Ulster for the final playoff spot, 1 point ahead of Stormers and Munster. There's been a lot of doom and gloom around your team lately, but they're currently in with a shot. They're ahead of 2 recent URC champions. Is there a little light at the end of the tunnel there in the capital?
Yeah, I think so. I think and we'll maybe talk about the European campaign as well. But they're starting to string a few games together, and they seem to be getting a little bit of a swagger back again, a little bit of confidence back. I think they are a team that there's something going wrong there somewhere, and we've talked about this before, David, and I'm not going to bore everyone talking about it again because it's my broken record that I seem to be playing regularly.
The albatross around our collective neck.
It seems to be that there's something going on there, and I think I'm concerned about it. And I don't, if we get into the playoff places, if we stay 8th or a little bit above 8th by the end of the season, I think it will be a successful season for Edinburgh because they weren't. I honestly, with what they have at this moment in time, and the results that they've been getting, etc., I think I think that's the most we can hope for. But we'll have to wait and see.
So, of those 3 teams, Ulster, Stormers, and Munster, which are you most afraid of overtaking Edinburgh right now? It's surely not Ulster.
Well, you see, this is the thing. Munster I worry about because Munster are a strong team. And they remember, I think about 2 and a bit years ago, I proclaimed at the beginning of the season that we were going to, I was really incredibly worried about Munster because I think they had a new coach and they could end up not doing very much that season. For the first couple of months, they made me look like a soothsayer or a witch. And they worked incredibly well to do as badly as they possibly could. And then they put these results together and won the whole blooming thing. So,
oh yes,
you have to be careful.
I remember at the time, the year they won it, if it was week 5, all the word clouds you would have gotten out of the Irish media would have been, the center word would have been disaster or crisis.
Yeah. It really was. And okay, they've got rid of their coach now, and Graham Roundtree's away, and so I don't know where they have gone into the wilderness a little bit. But yeah,
well, you kind of led me right to it. Like, what has gone wrong with Munster? Like, when they fired their coach, I was baffled because their record was exactly the same as it was the year they won the whole thing. But the wheels seem to have kind of come off since then. Like, did that move backfire, or was management kind of anticipating the swoon that was about to happen anyway?
I honestly don't know. I'm not that plugged into them at this moment in time now, but what I'm thrown with Munster is they don't seem to like Munster. They would have 3 or 4 really amazing players that would produce magic for them, but they also had probably the rest of the players that would grind wins out. Absolutely just grind you down.
Yep.
And you could throw everything at them, and they would just put you back on your heels and go, yeah, nice try, let's keep going. But they seem to they've become a little bit porous when it comes to defending, and also they don't have the big forwards that grind people down and batter them out the way. They do have Ty Furlong, not Furlong, Ty Burn, I should say, who is
one of the tags.
Yeah, one of those players is fabulous, but they seem to they mess with the breakdown quite a lot, and they're very regularly, I would say, borderline illegal in the breakdown, and unfortunately they're starting to be picked up on that, and you're seeing the referees are starting to pick up on those sort of things. So yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Their lineup's been a shambles. They don't have the get out of jail free card in RG Snyman anymore.
Yeah. Oh, and if you see him play for Leinster at this moment in time,
Jesus.
Defending the line out with one hand, picking a ball out of the air with one hand, it's just amazing.
It's so annoying to me because he's one of my favorite players on earth, and he's playing for the team I hate watching more than any.
They are quite amazing.
So annoying. Well, speaking of which, looking at the top four in the URC, we've got Leinster.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. We've got Glasgow in second, but it doesn't feel close right now. And then, don't look now, Cardiff are in third. Can that be? Is there something wrong with my browser maybe? Did it not refresh? Am I using Google Translate incorrectly?
It's a glitch in the matrix.
It's got to be.
It'll sort itself out eventually, and they'll tumble down. Cardiff are really an interesting squad. I have to say, they have a real. There's something about Cardiff. They are incredibly dangerous. On turnover plays, they're incredibly dangerous. They couldn't get their act together, but they seem to be putting results together now, which is quite impressive for the bin fire that is Welsh rugby at this moment in time. So, fair play to them. Because we're nowhere near them. We're one of the bigger spenders in the URC, Edinburgh, and we're nowhere near them. So, fair play to them. And then Glasgow, Glasgow have got a time of it. They've just that Sione Tuipulotu just been ruled out of the Six Nations.
I was just going to ask that. I saw a headline about he may be out, but that was the last thing I saw. Is it definite now?
Definite now. From what we're being told, it's a pectoral injury. Apparently a freak accident at training, and also Scott Cummings is out as well.
Yeah, Franco kept using the term freak injury, and I was like, wait, do you mean he's a total freak and he's injured, or?
It could be both, Franco, you never know with Franco, really.
I know.
Glasgow, it was funny, I was just before I came, I was coming home from work and I was listening to a podcast with Danny Kerr on it, and he was saying they were preparing for Glasgow this weekend. They played Glasgow this weekend in the Champions Cup, and they said that apparently something like from set piece play, from line out or scrummaging, Sione Tuipulotu has a 91% average of taking the ball in hand, getting a touch of the ball from from those positions, and he says, so we prepared for him, and we're all ready to attack him and to target him and everything like that. And then he didn't play. Like, what we're going to do now?
I'm busy being fascinated by this podcast. Like, surely they must spend the first huge amount of time being like, Danny, this is a device we call a microphone. When you speak into it, we were able to record. Okay. Recording is a process, but
yeah, it's done on the computer. The computer, no, it's not a wax cylinder. It's a computer. Okay,
let's start with the calculator. Okay, let's. By the way, if I had told you before the season started that at the end of January there would be 2 Welsh teams ahead of your team on the table, and neither of those teams would be the Ospreys, I mean, you'd have told me I was nuts, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, are we just seeing sort of the manifestation of the weirdness of the schedule? Like Cardiff only have 2 more home games this season. Benetton haven't made their trip to South Africa yet. Like there's a lot of sort of inequality baked into the schedule in the URC, right?
Yeah, very much so. And I think that's where, for example, people like Munster and I'll tell you what, watch out for Ulster. You really do have to watch out for Ulster, especially I watched them at this weekend. In the last 2 weekends, they've had some strong games in Europe. So keep an eye out for them. They're a young squad because of all the injuries in the squad, and they're just starting to get into their stride now. So I would keep an eye out for them. But yeah, I think Ospreys have got a hangover from them announcing Toby Booth is leaving.
That whole thing was weird.
That's just stupid, you know. It's like, tell the squad that he's leaving. That's not a problem, but just don't, you know. They've had a real problem, I think, and it's difficult because, mind you, the thing is, Ospreys are a very, very strong squad, very, very strong team, but they have never been able to close it down. You know, they don't have the ability to go the whole way. Scarlets had a freakishly, they were playing open rugby before everyone was playing open rugby, so they got themselves to the URC championship win. I feel that way, and Glasgow now are starting to show that a mixture of, you know, big hits and also open rugby play really seems to work for them, and I think that's what brought them the championship last year. So we're really interested. But the Death Star is looming with Leinster, and you know, with Geordie McBarrett. Geordie O'Barrett, I should say.
Yes. Famous Dubliner, Geordie Barrett.
Yeah, exactly. So with him, with his size 15 or something boots that he's got, you know, we'll wait and see what they can do.
I think, you know, I have had an irrationally intense disliking to, like, I already disliked Leinster, and, you know, Bill Simmons talks about this. I don't hate any of these teams. I sports hate them. You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy really rooting hard against them, and Leinster's at the top of that list, and then they got a player I love in Geordie Barrett, and it just makes me hate them so much more.
Yeah, and it's like people like for example, I've forgotten the prop's name. The French prop just turned up at Leinster. Like,
oh gee, I don't know.
Where did he come from? I've forgotten his name. But it's like he's a France international prop. Hang on, you've just announced RG Snyman, Geordie Barrett, and then all of a sudden, and by the way, we've just signed an international French prop as well. And you just, where are they getting this? And it's just quite amazing. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see because the problem is that they're the sort of team that you giggle because they don't get their 5th star that they've been desperate to get for winning the European Cup. But
I got to say, this feels like the year. Like it feels different this year.
Well, La Rochelle are off the boil. However, Bordeaux big UBB anyway, the guys, and Toulouse look outrageous.
Yes.
Outrageous. So it's going to take a lot of beating those two teams. And if Leinster do it, well, fair play to them.
You and I always love, you know, seeing Leinster kind of fall apart at that time of the year. But like I said, it feels different. It feels like it would take an act of God to keep them away from the URC trophy, at least. Are Glasgow the team best suited to potentially take them down, or is there another team that might have that secret recipe? Of course, they haven't lost in either competition this entire season. So if there is a recipe, it's more closely guarded than Colonel Sanders.
It really is. It's a recipe that everyone does not know there's the secret of. I think you've got the big thing with Leinster this year is they've got Jack Nienaber. Anyway, the ex-South African coach. They've got his defence, and his defence is incredibly strong.
It's made a difference.
Yeah, it really has. So Nienaber, yeah. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting fit. I think the problem you have though is when you come across a Galacticos side like Toulouse, who I think they were talking about again in this podcast I was listening to today. They're talking about they've got 4 fullbacks. One's a Scotland international. One's a French international. One's an Italian international.
Yep.
And I think the other one. What's the other one they said? Oh goodness, the other one is Argentinian international, I think. And it's just
right.
You just
take your pick.
And that's just the fullbacks,
Yeah. And they made him into Blair Winghorn, I called him this weekend. Last couple of weeks, BK's been out on the wing to make room for Ange or I think Ramos one of those times. But Ange had a monster game this weekend.
Oh, yeah, just a fabulous game. This is the funny thing, though, is that Ange Capuzzo has a phenomenal game for Toulouse, and then my old friend Damien Pinot goes, "You do? You've had a good game? Here, hold my beer." And it's like, and Chris Ashton, this podcast had Chris Ashton on it, and Chris Ashton has the record for most tries scored in a European Cup season of 11 tries.
Ooh.
And Damien Pinot...
Damien got more than half of that yesterday.
More than half that in one game. And you just say, oh...
It's so funny too because I made Damien Pinot my player of the week, my diamond in the ruck last week, and then this week he goes out and scores 6 tries. I'm like, damn it!
Yeah. And someone who is so nonchalant, you can just imagine he's running with the ball, and you can just imagine him with the little short cigarette hanging out his mouth, and he's just like, yeah, of course I scored.
I don't think anyone's ever seen him run full speed either. He's like, oh, how much faster do I need to run? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I like 80%. 80% is my favorite number. And it's just unbelievable. So, yeah, wow. Just wow,
So we kind of already just tipped the hat to it. So speaking of which, the European action has continued on. It was a remarkable weekend. Did you catch any of the action this week? It sounds like you did. You guys took care of business against Black Lion. They're atop Pool 3. Again, are there sort of green shoots of hope sprouting in your little rugby heart?
Yeah, yes and no. I think the Van score, when we played Van, I think that was away from home, and that showed that we actually can play some good rugby. I think we put out a full power side against Black Lion, and no disrespect to Black Lion, but they're not. If we got beat by them, there would be serious questions asked.
Yeah,
even though Richard
Cockle is
disappointing.
I don't think anyone expected them to win it, but I expected a little more out of them this year. It's a little weird.
Yeah, they came back quite well against Edinburgh. They put a couple of good scores in, but yeah, the Edinburgh were just too much for them. And it's great to see Ben Healy actually getting some game time as well, which is a long story. We'll not talk about that so much.
My comment recently was, I hope he didn't bang his head on his way out of the doghouse. So he might have a huge lump on the back of that thing. And it's really great to see him playing rugby with people his own age.
Yeah, that's nice. Oh yeah. You're getting to play with your peers again instead of going down to the wee school and putting out the cones for the subs. Anyway, he makes a great sports drink, But no.
You guys want orange slices? Shut up, Ben.
Yeah, Ben, over there. What's over there?
Put them on the table, Ben. Just leave them. Are those socks all clean? And by the way, the European tournaments, it seems like it's been a bit divisive this year. Lots of people I listen to and talk to just are not feeling it. It seems like people are either really in or really out on it. Where do you stand with Europe right now? Is the format making you so crazy you can't enjoy it, or are you just sitting back and enjoying?
I think the problem, there's one big problem I have, and this may be controversial, but I don't think the South Africans teams should be in the competition.
Okay.
It's a European competition. I think it's trying to accommodate them means that two things. You're getting more and more teams of just sending the bin juice or the kids to go and play in South Africa because they can't afford the time. There's a huge amount of travelling involved, and the URC can attest to that.
Yeah.
And also, I love the European Cup. The European Cup is phenomenal. If you look at some of the winners of the European Cups, big monster clubs, that really. When do you get the opportunity to see Glasgow play Toulouse, for example, or
That is why I love it. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I love all of that. So for me, I think that's a great thing to it. But if you look at, for example, that's all the South African teams out of the European Cup through the pool stages, and so they're all done. Some of them will slip. A couple of them will slip down into the European Challenge Cup.
Yep.
But the Sharks, for example, the Hollywood Sharks, or whatever they're called now. I've hardly seen Eben Etzebeth play for them. Sia Khaleesi was playing at the weekend, but they got absolutely spanked by UBP. So I don't know. I think it's a step too far with them. And I've got nothing against the South African teams. I really don't. But I don't think they should be.
Hold on, I'm trying to concoct a clickbait headline here about how much you hate the South Africans. Hold on.
South Africans send bin juice to Europe to play. Yeah, something like.
All South African rugby bin juice, according to Craig.
They all enjoy wearing a bib and holding the water.
By the way, Northampton this weekend, they might have finally won me over. Even while they were winning the Premiership, I was like, no, this isn't real. I've just never bought them. This weekend, they might have done it with that exciting win over Munster. But also, it's funny because, like you were saying, you're excited for these matchups in Europe, and then one of the teams you're looking forward to sends the absolute academy. Cast did that this weekend, and yet beat mighty Saracens at the Stone X. I think they said it was the first road win in Europe for Cast in 13 years. Yeah. I loved that. It was fantastic. Did you catch any of that?
Yeah, I watched the game because I couldn't switch it off. It was just something I had to watch, and it, there's very little pleasure in life, David. There's very little pleasure in life, but to watch either Exeter Chiefs or Saracens get spanked by a team that they think that they should really win against just makes life sweeter.
It really does.
It really
it's like
does.
A little whipped cream on top of something. It's like,
yeah, absolutely. There you go. Oh, there you go. Oh, that's a little. It's got some sprinkles on it. Wow, fabulous. Yeah, it was nice. And the thing is also is that Saracens didn't put out a poor team. They put out a strong team against these guys.
It's funny that right at the start too, the comms were like, by the way, Saracens were probably planning for one team all week, and then instead they get this other team, and they probably have no way to prepare for it. And this is 15 people who are like, this is my shot. And it absolutely unfolded that way. Do you think that was the key? Just having, they talked that Cast, has a lot of money. They spend a lot of money. So maybe their second 15 is deceptively better than we might have thought.
But this is the thing. This is the funny thing about it is that Cast come up to Edinburgh on a regular basis in the Challenge Cup and get sent home with their tails between their legs. We regularly beat Cast. We don't find them as someone who we worry about. And I'm sure Saracens. I think there's a mixture of Saracens. I'm sure they tried to take them seriously, but they still thought they were going to win. But that you cannot count out a team of younger players or older players. Well, a mixture of young players and older players who are chaperoning the younger players, going out and saying, yeah, I'm going to show this. I'm going to show the bosses. And also they had a new coach as well. The coach was only 2 weeks in, or maybe 3 weeks in.
Every time they showed him in the box, he looked like, no, I have no idea what to do right now. We're not supposed to be winning this game. I'm not prepared for interviews. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So it's just, fabulous. And this is what European competitions should be about. These smaller teams coming up against the big dogs and slapping them around.
That's why I like watching the Cheetahs in the Challenge Cup too. Like they don't even have a home, and yet they're getting a win here and there.
You're a Connaught fan as well as a Cheetahs fan. You like living dangerously,
Well, I mean, to be fair, if you're going to wear an orange jersey, the Sale could learn a lesson from the Cheetahs. That's how you're supposed to do that. That's how that works.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'll give you that.
And out of all the players I was, just gaga over this weekend, I'm sure we've talked about him before, but Pito Movaka. Oh my stars! He's playing number 2 for France. Like he's one of the best at that position, but you could put him at 8 and he'd probably be one of the best there. I swear, if you put him out at wing, you'd still have a better team than most teams that he's going to come up against. Like he can do everything. He's their, one of the best ball carriers. He averages 15 tackles a game while still looking like one of their best handlers. Like he's untackleable in close quarters. I don't even get it how good he is.
Yeah, fabulous to watch, and people like him, Jack Willis as well, who plays
Jack
for
Willis
Toulouse.
has been amazing.
Just amazing. Ollie Lawrence, who plays for Bath.
Love Ollie Lawrence.
Yeah, but you see, funny enough, I have to say again, I'm going to talk about a podcast I was listening to because it just happened. But they made some serious points here, and I'm not going to mention the name because I don't want, I'm not promoting it. No. They were talking about Jack Willis, and they were saying that Jack Willis, they really need to get Jack Willis back into England to be playing in England, so he will play for England because he really, as an 8 or a 7 for England, he's one of the best, and he should be there. And they made a really good point.
What can you and I do to prevent that from happening?
Well, you see, I think Toulouse are already doing it for us, so it's not a problem. Because what they said was, that's fine, but what you tend to find is that because you've got these Galacticos around you, all these players, because basically Toulouse is a World 15, so you could put that Toulouse team out against international squads, and they could beat, they would beat them. They could beat them. There's certain teams that Toulouse could go out as a club team and beat international teams because they have that level of players. And what they're saying is that he's the sort of player that, if you give him 5 or 6 different jobs to do, he becomes not mediocre, but he becomes sort of, he's not doing everything, all the jack.
Oh, interesting.
All the things that he's known to do.
Yeah.
But because he's got all these players around him who are incredibly good at what they do, he can concentrate on stealing ball, and that's what he's going to do: gain yards and steal ball, and that's what he does. And they're saying they could bring him back to Leicester Tigers, or they could bring him back to wherever, and he doesn't perform the same way. And that's what I think about Ollie Lawrence. Ollie Lawrence plays off Finn Russell. He absolutely plays off flat ball to the line. You don't know which way he's going to go. You're always having to try and defend him, even though he's playing he's doing a deception line, for example. So take him out of there and put him into England. He's still a phenomenal player, but he doesn't have the sort of the magic that Ollie Lawrence has when he plays for Bath because he's in a structure. He's in doing all these other things that England want him to do. And I think there's a lot to be said for all these individual players that look wonderful in their club team, and then they go to international teams, and they don't perform as well as you think they should.
It's amazing that you just once again sort of served that up over the plate for me because, and I struggled trying to figure out how to even ask this because a team like Toulouse, they're so good. When Blair Kinghorn went there, none of us thought he would become this good. But is it just that he's just evolving because he's in this situation where he's found what it's like to win all the time, and he's been allowed to sort of make this one position his home, and he's getting better and better? Or is it that the talent around him is so incredible that he's a little like a small mistake isn't going to mean as much. It's not going to affect the team results as much. So he can kind of get away with stuff. Like, as I'm talking, I'm still not sure I'm phrasing it right, but does the rising tide lift all boats? Is Blair Kinghorn the result of Toulouse being good, or is this him blooming as a person?
I'm going to sit right in the fence for you, David, because I think it's a bit of both. I think Blair Kinghorn was starting to become, once he stopped the sort of the Blair Kinghorn 10 thing, which I still think he was quite a very good 10, but once they got him back to 15, and once who should not be named left the Scotland squad for his I'm not even going to talk about it.
For his first sentence.
For his first sentence, yeah. That he's comfortable. Look, I'm a Scotland player. I'm a Scotland 15. I am the Scotland 15. You're going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot for you to unseat me. And then all of a sudden, you've got the world's best club team saying, we want to sign you. Now imagine how that makes you feel. Now you'll have a little bit of imposter syndrome, I'm sure. But you go and you sign. You move to France. You've got an adoring fan base, who and not just 7,000 people coming to see you, but 20,000 come to see you every week, and it lifts you. And then you've got 3 other teammates around you that if you make a mistake, they'll scoop the ball up and do something magical with it anyway. Right. So all of that pressure is off. I'm sure there's pressure because you've got to perform in a team like that. But
yeah,
he's also the fact that also again we're talking about people are starting to talk about him being one of the top 4 15s in the world.
And as soon as that talk started, they're like, you know what, we're putting it on the wing.
yeah, typical. But then he's still managing to do the job that they're asking him to do, and I think he's re-signed as well, if I remember correctly. So he's got another 2 years with him. So yeah.
Well, the men's Six Nations is, of course, right around the corner. You guys just did a deep dive on the Scottish rugby pod for the Scotland selection in particular. But, just sort of quickly, give us your overall feeling. Like, what's your level of optimism on a scale of Donkey Weir with short hair to with the full afro? What's your level of excitement and anticipation?
Well, David, we were full afro up until today. Yeah. And now we have shorn the hair off the afro. And we're back Donkey Weir with the short hair.
He went in and came out with a fade, and you're all like, no,
what are you doing, man? Losing Sione Tuipulotu is a proper kick in the crotch, and it's just. I always remember Jennifer Aniston on Friends saying, "Isn't that just kicking the crotch, spit in your face, fantastic?" And it really is. It's just it's a disaster. We have some phenomenal players who can back him up, and a facsimile. We've got a straight facsimile in the Scotland squad of Masesi, his brother, but Masesi hasn't played international rugby yet, so we don't know if that's going to happen. I think we'll make do, and I think we'll do okay. But my worry is that, and as we've already talked about, he gets his hand on the ball a huge amount of times. He plays off Finn Russell incredibly well for Scotland. I'm concerned that we're going to miss our chance, because this is our chance to win the thing. And so, because Ireland aren't performing as well as they have been, they're not the juggernaut they used to be. England are still trying to find their way. Wales are Wales. Wales are, oh man, I like eating crayons. Just
tastes like burning.
Yeah. and then you've got the only real major threat in the Six Nations is France. So we had an opportunity. Our team have been together for a long time. Scotland have been together. They're the first probably Scotland side that's been together this long and are performing at such a high level. So we just have to see. It's a bit, I was, yesterday. If you talked to me yesterday, we're going all the way. Today I'm a little bit more subdued.
Well, Scotland have been on a tear. I understand that you actually narrowly defeated the United States this past summer. So good on you. That's great.
Yeah, it was they gave us a good game, and we have to be careful because they did beat us before, so we better just keep our mouth shut. But yeah.
So Saturday, February 1st, you're home to face Italy. Any chance you're planning to go, by the way? What would it take to get Craig into a seat for one of these fixtures? And by the way, would you actually rather go to an away game rather than a home game?
I've been very lucky. I've been to Wales now. I've been to Italy. and I've been to France for the Six Nations. So I've enjoyed those. I've yet to go to the Death Star that is the Aviva, and I haven't yet gone to HQ, as they call it, because I just don't know if I could stand being around everyone singing Swing Low, I should say. So yeah, I'm going to Wales. I'm going to the Wales game at Murrayfield.
Nice.
So I've got tickets for that with my dear friend Johnny McGinty and a few of the you'll know Grav from Rock and Roll and all that. So we've got a few of them all coming up to Wales, because we were down in Wales last year.
But it was the epic journey.
The epic journey, yeah.
The year I think my stock in Uber was spiked that day.
The day that they promptly delivered Johnny McGinty from Bristol to Heathrow.
Yes.
Welcome to London, whether you like it or not. Yeah. So so I'm going to that game. I would like to. I don't know. I've kind of we've talked. You and I have talked a little bit. I've kind of I've been watching rugby from afar lately, and so it's been a little bit difficult. But yeah, Italy will be an interesting one. Italy are the great banana skin of the Six Nations, and considering how well Benetton are playing at this moment in time, they're starting to prove themselves as John. I can hear John Anderson already.
It's literally next to my list. I was going to say, like, you and I have been trying to convince John Anderson for years now that Italy are for real. I don't think this is the year we finally convince him.
I don't think so, not yet. But Benetton might be a real team. You know, that might be the only thing. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one. We're due them a slapping around because of what they did to us last year. So we have to we need to go and show them something.
That's the big question. So you know, it's the starting point for this year's Six Nations. It on paper it looks like a walkover for Scotland, but like the flip side of that is if Scotland don't win and win by a lot, is that like a real blow to fans' hopes? Is that like a warning sign for you?
Well, the issue we have is that we've got to bed in another 12. You know, we've got a captain missing, and one of our main playmakers. It's almost as bad as losing Finn Russell. You know, so it's a really difficult situation. So I could see us trying to bed this 12 and then losing the game because of it. But I would hope that we're strong enough not to do that. And if we do lose it, yeah, it's a big blow, because there are, you know, we've been beating England regularly now. England are due a win. Whether, you know, no matter what, England are due a win. Wales, I think, we should have a good chance of beating Wales. But yeah, the Italy are the great banana skin of the Six Nations, and we'll wait and see how we get on.
On the 9th, of course, you're home again to face Ireland. What's going to have to happen to get out of there with a win? Like, is there, you know, maybe a Scottish mafia that can threaten a few Ireland players? Is Jeff Gillooly still available to, like, break kneecaps or something? And how's that for a timely reference for you?
Amazing. Yeah, I'm in awe of your references at times. You know, you really, like, every so often I'm sitting there, I'm feeling comfortable, I'm happy-go-lucky, and then you slap me with
Jeff Gillooly.
You slap me with a big fish in the face of trivia. You know, yeah. Ireland are one of those. If we play like we played against Australia in the autumn series, we've got a chance to beat Ireland. Ireland are being found out regularly now by the referees. The referees are starting to watch what they're doing. Their breakdown work, there's more penalties going against them for their breakdown, their borderline illegal breakdown work. Porter regularly is being found out as someone, you know, you just need to watch him and the way he sets up. You know, it says a lot that Andrew Porter's only got one ear that bleeds all the time, and the other one's perfectly fine. Because he's, you know, but it's, I don't know. You know, they've got this fight going on between tens as well. So, you know, if it is Is it Prendergast who's the younger one? Who's the younger?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. Is he going to manage to turn up at a really rowdy Murrayfield, and has he got the cojones for it?
How big a difference does being at home make for this one?
It makes a huge difference. Murrayfield adds 15 to 20% on that performance, I would say, for Scotland. It can kill you as well because you can overplay. Stuart Hogg, which would attest to that on a regular basis because we were so guff at times when he used to play for us.
Yes, he's often being called to testify these days.
Yeah, well, I'll line him up. You hit him down, mate. You smash him out the park. There we go. It's at home. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just as an aside. I've been watching Full Contact again because there's the Netflix series is coming back.
Yeah, I heard it's coming back. Has it started yet? Are there any episodes?
It's not yet. It's not started yet.
Oh, the Six Nations hasn't started. Duh.
Yeah, but I've been watching the previous series again, and he's constantly through it, and I keep looking at him going,
I know there's a lot of Louis Rees Salmon in there too, so it's more the crossover between Hard Knocks and the Six Nations. It's pretty funny.
Well, Liam Williams is back in the Wales team. You never know. Rees Salmon might come back too. You never know.
Yeah, his contract with the Jaguars expired, but I just saw something about him considering the next offer. But so are you penciling in Scotland for a win at home against Ireland? Is it that gettable?
I think we have an opportunity, and that's all I can really say because I really, the typical Scotsman in me is going, we're going to get beat. It's the hope that kills you. I can give you all the different things that us Scots say about rugby, but I really do think this is our chance, and we've got players now, and also what you have to remember, and we have a group of players who know what it feels to win. You've got Finn Russell, who's regularly winning in a different championship. You've got I'm going to say this, I keep giggling at it. You've got a top 14 and European Cup winning Blair Kinghorn.
That's right.
Who knows how to win, who knows what it's like to be surrounded, knows what to bring from these teams that they play for. You have Johnny Gray now back in the mix, who's coming from UBB, and he's seems to be living it up there. He's smashing people as Johnny Gray smash. It just so that they've got these players who know how to win, and obviously the Weege, the Glasgow players who have won the URC and have won significant games, have won against Munster away at Tobin Park, and have won in the Highveld of South Africa. So you've got these players who have this ability to say, you know what, we can beat people, we can do this. So yeah, and then Gregor Townsend will drain that. I don't know if you've ever watched What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh yes, I love it. Yeah.
Gregor is
the psychic vampire.
He's a psychic vampire, Gregor Townsend. Right, men, I'd like to talk about this. Whoa.
I was going to say, is there any chance Toonsy plays Johnny Matthews, or is he too good?
He's gone. Johnny Matthews is
You
out.
scored how many tries? You're out, pal.
Let's just say if you ever get a chance to watch Harlequins v Glasgow this week, happened at this weekend, Johnny Matthews. Now we know why Johnny Matthews doesn't play for Scotland. Squint line out, squint line out, squint line out, squint line out, squint line out. Oh man.
Man. Were you and I just forced to admit that Toonsy was right about something? Damn, this is a weird pod.
I have to say I've never been a fan of Johnny Matthews, but then I just,
Wow.
Then I get carried away with Johnny and John's and Ian's Glasgow-based Johnny Matthews hero worship, and I think actually maybe he is a good player, and then you see him and you go, oh, I'll confirm it.
Well, that's why I started today with a little extra focus on the green shoots at Edinburgh, because you just never get a chance to say anything good about your guys on your show. Because if you make the mistake of saying anything, boom, 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 the crossfire is coming from all sides.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So they don't knife you in the back; they knife you straight square on in the front.
Yeah, they take turns. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
behind Craig this time.
Hey, listen, you're not in the group chat. I've got a group chat as well, a messenger chat for the podcast. And when they're watching games, all I get is bile from them about Edinburgh as well. So I don't escape. I feel bullied. I'm going to have to just. My wife keeps laughing because she says, "Why don't you just put that chat on mute?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I suppose I should, and I never do it, and I should because Johnny, give them a beer in them. Oh my goodness."
Well, of course, on March 8th, you're back at home again to face evil genius Warren Gatland and the hapless Horde. Craig, has that fixture become an automatic win at this stage? Like, which team, when you're looking ahead to a Six Nations, worries you more, Italy or Wales?
Italy.
Yeah.
And that's the funny thing about it is that they've got some players back. There's some phenomenal players on the Welsh team. They just haven't got it together yet, and there are shoots there, and I think, but then he does things like I've forgotten the player he's missed out.
No Gareth Anscombe.
No Gareth Anscombe.
No Rio Dyer.
No, not that fussed about Rio Dyer, but there's a Dan. Oh.
Well, you and I recently, not too recently, but we talked about Dan Lydiot when I pointed out that Dan Lydiot is actually French for Dan the Idiot.
I thought you were going to say Dan Lydiot is French for the oldest man in Welsh rugby, still playing. I've forgotten the player, but he's left out a player along with Anscombe, and he's absolutely killing it in the Premiership. And I just think to myself, why would you not avail yourself of these players who are playing? It's like Johnny Matthews, I suppose. He's been doing incredibly well for his club. Maybe you want to have a look at him in the squad.
I mean, that's literally my next question here. Is Warren Gatland just openly trying to get fired at this point? Like, of all the selections that came out this week, the Welsh selection has to be the most, what?
Yeah.
Not this part? Like, it's very, very strange to the point that it makes me think back when, was it Abby Tierney said, hey, or he said, hey, would you like my resignation? And she said no. Is he like, damn it, I really thought she was going to say yes.
I honestly think he's waiting on a payout. And the problem is Welsh rugby can't afford to pay him out.
That's the thing.
And, because, look, you have to take into account, you have to say to yourself, look, he's a professional coach. He, surely he's not doing that. Surely his standards are high. Surely, I keep calling you Shirley. Surely this guy is professional enough to go and give 100% every single time. But he's doing, and funnily enough, I think it was Josh on the Blood and Mud said this week, and is that he's doing what his predecessor did.
Yeah.
Just throwing players.
It's Pivac Part 2.
It is. Throwing players in to see if they sink or swim. Like this, I think it's not Dan Thomas, but it's Dan. Anyway, this player that they missed out, and I'm really sorry, I can't give you a name, but I'm an old fart and I'm starting to lose my marbles. But I'm also I've done my back in and I'm on the fairly healthy painkillers, so I could be saying anything. But the his reasoning for not...
Wait, I'm changing my clickbait. Drugged up Craig Manson says all Welsh and South African rugby bin juice.
Chucked up prop says Gatland is a rubbish coach. Mind you, they probably agree with me.
It gets no clicks. Everyone's like, we know.
Yeah. The thing is, his excuse for leaving this play, right, was he got very little touches of the ball against South Africa.
Yes. And when in fact it was his game plan that precluded him from actually getting touches of the ball. Yeah.
And it's like, come on, man. So these are the things that make me go, yeah, he's looking for a payout. And
that was like Eddie Jones level. That lets me know that he's like in conversation with other countries right now.
Yeah, that's a Gregor Townsend. His friend is the fifth the fifth
Right.
best 10 for Scotland at the moment.
I left him out on form.
On form. What an idiot. Anyway, yeah.
By the way, I don't know. The Gatlin thing is so weird. I feel like Toonsey should have gone. We've been talking about it for a couple of years now. Gatlin, it was the weirdest thing too. When they rehired Gatlin, I was like, rehiring the guy from before that you kind of rode out of town. That's good news, and yet people I really respect and whose opinions I value were like, "Yay, it's Gatmas! Gatlin's back," and it's been worse ever since. And it's just such a weird situation. And I always kind of feel like I'm watching from afar because I literally am, but also just in a way as an American, like I want Australia to be good at rugby and I want Wales to be good at rugby. The rugby world makes more sense when those nations are good at it. And I don't know what to do with either of those nations right now. It's a very head scratching time.
The thing is, if you run out of town by even if you just call it a club, you're the coach of the club and they run you out of town and then they come back to you eventually and say, would you consider, well, I'm going to get a really, really good contract, and if I decide that I can't be asked with it, well, I can't be asked with it, and you're going to have to pay me. For swallowing my pride and coming back, you're going to have to pay me. And they've done that, and they've stupidly done that. They could have brought in a young Welsh coach who's performing incredibly well, and given him 5 years and say, go on, let's see what you can do. You're going to have to rebuild this squad anyway. We've not got a lot of money. Let's start some youth, get the young guys through and build this squad. But Gatland is having to try to prove to everyone that he knows what he's doing. But he's having to bring in youth because he can't afford, he's lost all the big players because they've gone away to big contracts elsewhere. But he's then bringing back people like Liam Williams and things like, people like that. Gareth Anscombe, who is older. Okay, he's not brought him back, but he had the opportunity to bring this 10 in. And Gareth Anscombe would have papered over the cracks at this moment in time because it would have been we would have tried to put an attack together somehow. But now it's not laughable because it's not laughable. These are professional athletes, but it is getting to a point where we're either going to get a big bloody nose from Wales and they're going to say, see, told you, or it's just going to be another unsuccessful campaign and everyone's going to be calling for his head again.
By the way, I don't even know how I did this, but I completely skipped over it. On February 22nd, you, of course, head just down south to Allianz London to face England. I have no idea what to expect from England this year. 6 months ago, I was predicting a big resurgence for them, but lately they seem to have developed a habit of just kind of losing close matches. What do you see coming when you look ahead to that fixture?
It's a difficult one. They've got a new captain. Finally, they've given the reins to Maro Toji, and anytime you talk to Maro Toji, he talks in the third person. Maro Toji is very happy to be captain. He almost speaks like Yoda.
David doesn't mind that too much.
Yeah, Craig really enjoys coming on the Scrum of the Earth. Yeah, I don't know. I'm exactly the same. You look at England and you look at their many parts, and you think to yourself, England should really be a top 5 country in the world.
Yeah.
Alex Mitchell is one of the best nines. A real threat of a nine. Someone you just can't take your eyes off. Marcus Smith, well, Rugby Jesus is faltering a little bit. They've maybe be demoting him to Rugby.
Rugby Peter, Rugby Paul.
Rugby Paul. They don't know whether they're going to play him at 15 or whether they're going to play him at 10. And there's this whole thing. George Ford should be 10 and get him at 15.
How many months are we away from a headline that says Rugby Judas?
Rugby Judas. Rugby Judas, get him out. The problem is Marcus Smith plays incredibly well for Harlequins because he's got a team around him who absolutely subscribe to we don't really care how many tries you score, we're going to score more than you. Unfortunately, you just know that if you ever go out for a few drinks with Steve Borthwick, that he's going to have lime and soda most of the night. and he's going to have a few drinks, and then he'll have a tactical spewette so that he can he's planned the night out all the way through. He's just his rugby I don't find exciting. So we'll have to wait and see. As I said to you earlier on, I think England are due a win against Scotland. I think it's just the run of the mill. I think it's just the way it is. And if they're ever going to really give us a bloody nose, it's this year, because we are on our high horse and we've got a little bit of confidence.
Yeah.
And we're starting to talk about Six Nations,
Well, on the Ides of March, you're off to Paris to face France to finish off this year's tournament. Is this the toughest fixture on the docket, if only because it's at the Stade de France as opposed to being at home for Ireland?
Yeah, this is the Grand Slam decider, David.
For who?
Yeah, it's the thing is, and this is what I love about France, is France are easily beatable. There are times that France can absolutely just lose it, but they are looking outrageous just now, and you just all you need to do is get the defence to come up. All France needs to do is get the defence to come up really, really tight, really, really flat to the line, and then kick a ball through for what's his name? It's not Villiers, the other winger, Biarritz or Biarritz or
Biarritz.
Biarritz, that's the man. Who is electric. I've never seen someone so fast, so able to get on the end of the ball, get round defenders and score tries. Just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful player. So, yeah, I think there could be a situation where it's a championship decider between Scotland and France. It may not be a Grand Slam decider, because I could see both teams maybe losing a game.
Well, you brought me right to it. You're on the hook. Who is winning the Six Nations in 2025? And will there be a Grand Slam? I feel like the Grand Slam's not on the cards this year. I feel like
I don't think there's a Grand Slam on the cards. I think you've got a strong England. I think you will find a strong England. England could have beaten Scotland last year if they didn't all handle hot sauce or something and then put it in their eyes or something. They dropped every ball they could. They really it was the first game of the Six Nations, and Scotland were on it, and they weren't.
Yeah.
So
was that? Did you drop 50 on them? No. It was 30, I think.
Yeah. It was. They just
30-21, I think.
They just kept dropping the ball on a regular basis. So they were very inaccurate. So I think it's one of those situations where England are strong. I think Ireland can bite back. I think Ireland are still. They've not forgotten what they can do. And they can still absolutely slap anyone around. So there's an opportunity there. But France, I would like to think that this is Scotland's chance. We are at a stage now where we have a team that are settled. We have been playing incredibly good rugby, and we have shown that we can actually take the pressure. We've got team players within the squad who know how to win. So I think there is an opportunity there. So for me, I think there's a championship, and I think it's going to be between Scotland and France.
Nice. But I do need an answer.
Scotland. Come on, let's go.
Yes! I knew I could count on you. Any last thoughts on the Six Nations? Are you looking forward to it, by the way? Are you getting excited as we're talking about it? Like, oh yeah, Italy's only a couple of weeks away. Like, is this getting your blood flowing?
Yeah. I just think I am looking forward to the day that I sit in Murray. In fact, not even sit in Murrayfield. I'm walking from the tram up to Murrayfield with you, going to a Scotland game. And
yes.
You will. I know that you're a massive fan of rugby, and I know that you love your rugby and you get excited for rugby. But I don't know if you've ever felt the hairs on the back of your neck a mile away from the stadium. And that is, and you get that going to the Stade de France. You get it, you know. Well, I was going to say you get it going to the Millennium, but the Millennium's slightly different because you know you're in a pub 2 minutes from the door of the Millennium, and so you're totally and utterly unaware of what is there. And then you walk into, and it's almost like you're walking through office buildings and everything, and all. You walk in, and all of a sudden it's like it's like walking into an indoor baseball park.
Wow!
It's like you've walked into someone's home because it's warm, and it's like the roof's shut. And it's
you live
dry.
in a stadium?
There's no war. And they've got Josh Navidi playing the DJ music. And it's comfortable. It's a really nice place to be, the Millennium. It's a lovely stadium to be in. I was totally blown away by it. But then the Welsh start, calling you names and everything like that, and then you just beat them. So the 6 stations for us, really, it's a hair in the back here. You just it's like goosebumps. You just even thinking about it just now. And then you get the anthems, and apart from the apart from the dirge that is the English national anthem, even the French, for example, have copied the Scottish crowd, because the second verse of Flower of Scotland, the band stops playing and you sing it. It's the crowd that are singing it.
Oh, yes.
They started doing that with La Marseillaise. Or La Marseillaise for the second part of it, so they've got the crowd going, and there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Looking forward to it. Really am.
I can't wait. Craig, man, before I let you go, I'm going to sneak one in on you. I just want to quickly get your take on the ILONA MAHER effect. She's been starting the last 2 weeks for Bristol. She looked great last week, but not such a standout this weekend. You coached the women's game for a long time. Are you liking what you're seeing? Are you watching the PWR? Are you a believer? Well, we already used the phrase, but like in the rising tide lifts all boats theory, or is the overblown attention on one player kind of skewing things? Are they doing this right? Is this good for women's rugby? What's your take on the whole ILONA MAHER effect?
First things first, it's brilliant, fantastic, and I'm really pleased that she's there. She's really brought a massive focus onto the women's game, which has been getting there, but they've really supercharged it now. So I can't take anything away from it. I'm a bit. That's called 70% of me says this is a wonderful thing. I'm really happy it's happening, etc. There's a little bit of 30% of me that goes, I'm a little bit. I get, and this is probably because I've been involved with women's rugby for a long time, that you've got a hell of, especially the press, are now going, oh, women's rugby is incredibly popular. Hang on a minute, we've been playing women's rugby for this long. And, Scotland have been professional for a couple of years now. England the Red Roses are one of the best, one of the best rugby teams in the world. Never mind women or men, they are one of the best rugby teams in the world. Where have you been? Does it take this? Now, don't get me wrong. If ILONA MAHER is in line to be the second Mrs. Manson, but she's just so cool, and she comes across as someone that everybody wants to be friends with her.
Yeah.
Even when she's been online the last couple of days sporting a broken nose and 2 big black eyes here because she went into contact quite significantly.
I saw the blood. I didn't see the after. She's find her on Instagram.
She's all smarted up.
Is she on social media now? Is that a thing?
I believe I believe she is on the Instagram or the Facebook.
I should log on.
Yes. I think you should log on. Get your dial up onto the old the internet, www. and all that. She's
as you can see, the hype train is in full effect. I myself now own a Bristol Bear.
Oh my lord! Oh, here we go. I tell you, you see success everywhere, and you just jump right on those coattails, don't you?
To be fair, he joins Tane, the Tanifa from Northland Rugby. Definitely my favorite rugby mascot. He's got a little shield. He's got the shorts.
Nice. There's going to have to be a Flinty sent over to you, but it depends which one.
Will it be the real Flinty?
It may be the real Flinty. You never know. Anyway, that's a different story. But yeah, no, I think she's a great ambassador for the game. She's really brought a huge amount to the Premiership Women's Rugby. I think it's a great thing. So
when this contract ends, is the PWR going straight back to the back pages, or is this something that will last? I guess that's what I'm really getting at.
What we need now is a few more superstars. And I think...
So rugby traditionalists hate the whole superstar thing, but I think it's only good for the sport. Like, you're advocating for this, more attention to individuals, more superstars.
I think you see, this is the thing. The women's game is totally different to the men's game. The men's game is dyed in the wool, wax jackets, flat hat, flat caps. In my day, all that garbage that the men's rugby comes on, blazers, etc. It's dyed in the wool. The men's game is like a big super tanker, and you're trying to turn it round, and it's going to take 6 miles to turn around. Women's rugby is far, far, far more mobile, and it allows, it's open to anything, and that's its strength. And we're now at a stage where, you look at Ellie Kildunn, World Player of the Year, for what she's trying to become a little bit more of a media personality. Unfortunately, it's not working as well. But I think if we can get a few more superstars, you say that rugby doesn't like individual superstars, but I'll tell you what, I bet Bath, so the season tickets at Bath went through the roof when Finn Russell was signed. And it's the same with if DuPont signed for Edinburgh, there'd be sorry, I was living in a wee world there. Maybe it's the Painters.
I might need to give you a second there.
Yeah, okay. Craig, wake up, Craig, wake up. But yeah, those players that come in that would do that sort of thing, they are individual players, and we have to celebrate them. And I think if we could find a few more, if each club could find one or two players in their team that stand out to be the big superstars, then that's what we need.
Craig Mann, it always does my heart good to see your smiling face and sharing your wit and your insights. You are a gentleman and a scholar. I thank you once again for taking the time to join us here on the Scrum of the Earth. Any final thoughts, anything to plug? What's coming up next for the Scottish Rugby Podcast?
Scottish Rugby Podcast, well, we're working away together to we've got some new pundits on, some new guests. It's always good to have them there. We've Alan and Mark have come on, and obviously we're going to hopefully have you yourself back on soon for the Six Nations and do a little bit of that as well. So for us, it's really just a matter of tuning in, being part of the audience, come and also interact with us. Try and apart from when Johnny's doing the X and the Blue Sky feeds, and it's just he wants to rip the mick out of the Irish and the Welsh. Just avoid that, but give us some feedback. Be part of it. Be part of the conversation. And also, what I would say is, well, depends on where your politics lie, but get yourself onto Blue Sky, because X is becoming more and more toxic every day. And
for sure.
It's not a great place to be. But other than that, looking forward to the Six Nations, and looking forward to being hopefully joining the conversation about that. And it's always you're always incredibly kind to me, David, and I really do appreciate A, your friendship, and B, your kind words when I come on the podcast. This is a joy to come on the Scrum of the Earth. It always is, and I'll continue to do it anytime you want me. I'll be here.
Well, you make it easy, my friend. Saying nice things about you is one of the easiest things I could possibly do. It's manna for my heart every time we get to chat, so I really appreciate it.
I appreciate that, my friend, and it's always good to catch up. It's always nice to hopefully talk to a different audience as well, and hopefully if I can encourage anyone to watch a little bit of Scotland rugby or any rugby, then it's a plus point.
maybe you and I can find a way to do like a synchronous watch party or something. The Six Nations, that would be cool.
That would be cool. That would be cool. It was almost like we did a Six Nations live podcast once. But then we didn't actually then do the podcast. We just went to a rugby club and we did a little bit of a day with the rugby club. So maybe we should try and do something, but it would be good fun.
I vaguely remember shots of like a boat race from one of your clubs. Was that yours? Was it Johnny's?
That was, we were at Portobello Rugby Club, I think, and if I remember correctly, Johnny and John were incredibly bad at the boat race. So,
Well, the guy we call Ranger Kenny Thompson, Free Jacks season ticket holder. He's a Scottish expat. He lives here, but he also is a Glasgow season ticket holder. His daughter, I think, is going to school in Glasgow, so she usually uses the tickets, but he goes back and forth. He follows the Free Jacks on every single road game, and before the MLR final in Chicago, our first championship year, he won us the boat race. They set up the cameras. They got it live on TV and everything. And we were behind, and then it came to Kenny, and he was like, "Pow!" It was like teleportation. That beer went into him so fast. And afterwards, I was like, "Kenny, how'd you do that?" And he said, "Yeah, that was the first time I've ever done that." And I was like, "Really?" And he said, "No, I was in the So we've got representation over here, my friend. But yeah, you and I will figure out a way to do it.
Definitely. I'd love that.
Craig, my friend, you're the best. Cheers. Talk to you soon. All the best to your family, and be well.
Be well, my friend.
You want to tempt the wrath of the whatever from high atop the thing?